like her daughter caught her like, I know you have a family, I know you've got this, why are you still lying? There was a picture of this woman and her sister, her twin sister, on their father's funeral, and this woman was like, nah, it's not me, it's not me, it's not. She was like, no, it's not. Who is that person? I have no idea who she is. Hi, welcome back to my YouTube space. My name is Kacha, as always. I started doing book reviews like many months ago because I love reading, but I don't read enough. So I do it so that I'm like, oh, I have to do a book review, and because I have to do a book review about the book, then I have to actually read a book to do a book review. You feel me? You get what I'm saying? Anyway, this book that I'm reading and talking about today is called The Vanishing Half by Brit Bennett. So it's based on two girls, they're twins, two sisters, twins, that grew up in a really small town. A very, very small town filled with a lot of beige people. And so imagine somewhere that's filled with like a Mariah Carey of the world, the Stephen Currys, the Ayesha Currys, a little bit of sprinkle of like Meghan Markle, who else is given like, you know, a little tiny bit of, I don't really know where you're from, I don't really know what your race is, you know. I guess maybe ideally, if you're like, you know, idealistic in an ideal world, that shouldn't really matter. But when you tap yourself and wake up, we live in planet Earth, and this is the reality of the current situation. But the book was based in a time where that was even more so important. It was back in whatever time period when there was a lot of color segregation in the US. So colored bathrooms, you couldn't go into a swimming pool that white people were swimming in. I couldn't go into a swimming pool. I don't know who you are, you might have been able to go into that pool, but I certainly couldn't have. So it was things like that. So it was extremely important, or something of note anyway, that these people were colored and beige. So then you have these two girls, they grew up in this tiny little town, and they kind of get bored. They're like, you know what, I'm tired of this hustle. They're not really well to do. Their mom is a single mom. Their dad was murdered, which we're going to talk about really shortly. The son is sunning. Anyway, their dad was murdered, so you know, they're not really well to do. Things are not going great, that kind of thing. They haven't helping their mom to clean because their mom is a cleaner, that whole shebang. So yeah, like I said, at some point they were like, we gotta dip, you know, we're kind of done. So they ran away from home and they go into a city. Obviously in the city, they're finding it a bit hard to find a job because you're kind of now in the real world. They really contemplated going back sometimes, like going back home, but it didn't. Anyway, the two of the girls, one of them, her name is Desiree, the other one, her name is Stella. Stella then has a job. She went into somewhere to, I think she went to apply for a job actually, and when she went there, it was a job that was meant to be for white people. She went in, I think she did the interview, I can't remember the story, but it was a very like, she just kind of walked through and nobody noticed that she wasn't white. And then she was like, oh, all right, this is something that can happen. So then she goes back again, she finally gets a job, I think if I'm remembering this correctly. It's been a while since I read this book, so forgive me or correct me if I'm wrong. But she then finally gets a job. She falls in love with her manager. She's a secretary, and her manager, I feel like secretaries and their managers have like a very interesting relationship. Like, you know, the whole stereotype, or like, is it called an archetype or stereotype? I don't know the word. Of like a manager or boss and his secretary, that type of like power play dynamic. I feel like it's always given a bit of like, I don't know, but you know what I mean. But anyway, she falls in love, or, you know, falls in love with her manager, and then she decides that, okay, this white life that I'm living at work is actually a bit of me. It's a bit of me. I love it. She was like, I actually like it. I like the idea of not having to worry about all of the problems that I have in life. I like the idea of not having to think about, you know, all of the problems that not being white obviously brings to me as a person, and all of that kind of jazz. So she decides that, you know what, I'm not gonna go back home. Not gonna go back home to my twin sister. Actually, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go away with this man. I'm gonna marry him, and I'm gonna tell him that I don't really have a family. You know, my family's you know, they're kind of dead. You know, one of those people where like your family history like isn't very strong. It's just like, you know, maybe I had one sister, she died like many years ago, that type of vibe. She had a whole kid with the guy was obviously like a little bit minted, so she had a whole kid with him, god, the sun has literally, I was looking for the sun a few minutes ago and now I can't see, like I'm literally blinded. Anyway, that's better. Yeah, so she had a whole kid with a man, and then literally it was later on in life, the kid that she has with this man and another kid that her other sister has from another man then meet. What are the chances, right? They're technically niece, no shit, what are they? Your mother's sister's child is your cousin. Yes, they're technically cousins, and they meet up in the future somewhere, and that was when the whole truth starts to unravel underneath this woman's feet, who is pretended to be white her entire life. I felt like I really understood her. There wasn't any, like the sister who ran away and decided to become white, there wasn't any points, like once her character was developing, I was like, oh, that makes sense. Like I really do understand why she had to do what she had to do. Like I really fully 100% get it. Like it is fair enough, because most importantly, because her dad, the way her dad died was quite traumatic. I don't really remember the reason why, but it was basically along the lines of the fact that he basically wasn't white, or he was killed by white men for like, so it was a racially charged murder. So yeah, like, and then that threw them into some type of poverty and all of that stuff. So she really just envisaged, and I'm sure she was longing for this world where you don't really have a lot of problems because of your race, that kind of thing. So I fully get it. And the fact that she wasn't even trying, like she didn't try the first time. It was really easy. She didn't really have to do too much, you know. I think the only thing that was completely brutal was what she was willing to sacrifice, right? Like you have a whole twin sister that is meant to be like your soulmate, like the person that you shared a womb with. That's deep on a whole nother level. So I think that was the one thing that was scary, like the fact that she was willing to let go of so much just to be able to live in the world as a white woman. What some of the things that were very interesting was like how later on, when this woman, like obviously that was white passing, she had a neighbor who was black, the way that she was so worried about the fact, and she was always like, oh, telling her husband, who obviously was white, was like, why do we have to have black neighbors, like what, like it was crazy. And I think they were moving into, like by the time she'd grown up, the world has moved a little bit more, where obviously if you're a bit more wealthy, you could live in a neighborhood that was more significantly white, which was where she was living. But obviously that came with a lot of racial injustice for the poor black woman who was, I say poor, the black woman who was in that neighborhood, who yeah, had to deal with her BS even though she was a colored person. So yeah, that was quite interesting. And I think her whole dynamic with her family was interesting. Like it was interesting because she wasn't really happy. Like I can't categorically say that from the book it looks like she was happy. At some point, I think her lies started to eat her up from inside. And you could kind of tell that she was just, yeah, it was like inside of her. And she had not finished school because they ran away. She didn't really do much, but eventually in the end, she really did so much more for herself. Like she went and started some type of degree, and she became a lecturer of some sort in some university. So she, you know, she kind of did all right, but you could tell that she gave so much of herself, like literally gave so much of herself to become the person that she'd become, which was quite scary, really. Her other sister, on the other hand, was the more blacker person, should I say. She was leaning on to the, you know, the other side. She married a black guy, like, because she's beige. I say beige, you know what I mean. She was beige, and she married a black guy, and her daughter was actually, according to the book, like really dark skinned. Her husband, or the person, I'm not sure if she married or she was dating him, I think they got married anyway, he was being very physically abusive to her, so she ended up running away and then going back home to live with her mom. But obviously she went back home to live with her mom, and she didn't come back with her sister, and she didn't know where her sister was because her sister didn't want to be found. I really liked the relationship with this guy that she developed a relationship with after she ran away from her abusive husband and did a reverse to come back home. His name was Early, which is a bit of a weird name anyway. But I love the relationship that they had together. It was a kind of relationship where like there wasn't a lot of things that was said, but it's like, you know that the love is there. Like I don't know, there's something about the relationship that I just loved so much. Like the way that they describe like his scruffiness, like he was very much a gentleman to her, but he was also like incredibly scruffy. And I think that that's such a like a sexy mix sometimes. Maybe it's me, like he wasn't a bad boy in the sense of like breaking hearts and doing all of that stuff, but you could tell that he was very, in a weird sense, like very manly. He was what are those people? A bounty hunter, not a bounty hunter. He basically goes looking for people who don't want to be found. That's what he did for a living. And he wasn't able to find this girl's sister, which was what was even like mad times 10. So yeah, the book was very interesting. I think the whole part about the blacker sister's daughter being like really dark skinned, and then when she grew up a bit more like in the colored town of colored people, in a world of Mariah Carey's and Aisha Curry's, so as a dark skinned person, like she got made fun of even by her own grandmother. And yeah, another relationship that I thought was quite interesting was the one that the black twins daughter had with her boyfriend in uni when she went off to uni. He, I guess by definition, is trans, because and it's quite interesting actually, his story of how like he ran away from home, because, well, obviously when he ran away from home he was identifying as a woman, and yeah, like when he ran to, I think they were living in LA at the time, when he moved to LA, like how he had to do so much crap to kind of like get by and live. And it's quite interesting like how he didn't reveal that he was obviously like a woman biologically, and how it was interesting because they kind of like talked about their sex life like a little bit in the book as well, how he would like kind of like go down on her but like would never allow her to do anything back to him. So she was like very much like enjoying herself, but like he wouldn't, like literally the moment that she would want to touch him, he would like kind of like shudder and like go back. Yeah, that was very interesting because I think obviously as a trans man, he was very masculine. I think that was what I got from the book anyway, is that he was very masculine. So I can imagine, his name is Reese, that he was very like kind of like a very manly man type of man, if you get what I mean, in terms of like physically muscular, those sort of like attributes. That's what I think in my mind, but maybe I, you know, got the wrong impression. But yeah, I love how much he loved her. I loved how much I don't know, I really love their relationship. Like, I can't really explain, this was so bad, I'm trying to do a book review and I can't even explain what I loved about their relationship, but I just loved how it felt easy in some regards. And I think even the same relationship that she had with her mom had with this guy early, it just felt easy. I can't explain, it's not easy, it just felt like there was ease, which I think I loved. I love that about both. Obviously there's difficulty there in both parts. The fact that she was dating a guy obviously that wouldn't let her touch him because he was transitioning and the whole shebang, but I thought that the way that the writer portrayed that was really fantastic, and like she did a really good job at doing that. I say as a woman who really maybe don't really be understanding like that, but you know what I mean. So yeah, I really love that. I'm trying to think if there's any other dynamic. I think her very chaotic Stella, the white passing woman, her daughter was very chaotic. She was giving me like Britney Spears type of chaos, or like Paris Hilton in like her Kim Kardashian BFF era type of chaos, you know what I mean? That kind of blonde girl type of chaos, like very chaotic. But I loved Stella's daughter. Stella obviously had left her life to become this white woman, and she was putting all this pressure on her daughter to do so well, and her daughter literally decides to become like a chaotic rebel, like I don't care about what you want from me type of girl. And she ends up becoming an actress, which is where she then meets her cousin later on in the future. So that was like a whole very interesting thing, and it was her cousin, so the black girl, the dark-skinned girl that is the daughter of the actual black mom, then tells the daughter of the white mom like, hey, me and you, we got bloodlines, we're really like, yeah, related. And technically because they're twins, they're like half sisters, because that's the way the whole twin thing works. So yeah, that was very interesting. But I expected when I started reading the book to be completely surprised by Stella Vignes, so the white passing person, her white passing-ness, and I just wasn't. I ended up just being interested in her story. Her relationship with her husband was given mid, you know. It was given, you know, half and half. It was given, you know, yeah, it wasn't that great. But I must say, I think their relationship start was kind of like sexy in a way. Like, it was kind of really nice. Like I say, that classic stereotype secretary and the boss type of thing. And I think someone that she was speaking to, because she was a lecturer, right? So she was speaking to someone who I think was, you know, into feminism and all that kind of jazz, who was saying how, I don't know, I think they were alluding to the fact that her husband might have, what's the word? Not persuaded her in like a positive way, but would have, oh, what's the word? What's the word when they say that somebody, like when an older man is with a younger woman or vice versa, or an older person is with a younger person? Oh, I can't think of the word. But there was, the woman basically was saying that her husband kind of like connived her into being with him. And I thought that was very interesting, because I have a hypothesis. I don't really know if I want to share this with the internet. I don't know, I don't really know, but the hypothesis, I have a lisp, so you can kind of tell now, but the hypothesis is that I feel like if men, or like a guy, generally speaking, on really broad spectrum, if a guy is like well-mannered, he's a gentleman, he has money, and that side of like power, he's kind, he kind of like, I don't know, I just feel like women are, a lot of the time, and maybe I'm just speaking for myself, but women respond to the way that they are loved. And sometimes like we probably don't really take the time to really think of whether like we actually really like this person, or are they just available and are they just giving us love in the way that we want it, or in the way that makes sense. I don't know if I'm making sense. But it's like her husband at the time, when he was her manager, was like buying her gifts, he was taking her out to dinner, he was being respectful, he was telling her all the things that you need to hear. She was 19, I want to say, around that kind of age, so she was really young. Not that I think he would be any different if she was older, but it's like he literally, I don't know, I feel like a lot of times like men can have it so easy, and the fact that they don't just means that they're so silly. Because it's like, I genuinely feel, I could be wrong, but I genuinely feel like when a woman can tell that a man really likes her, she kind of just, she's like, what am I waiting for? Do you know what I mean? So I think the fact that the woman, it was kind of interesting. You have to read the book to maybe see what I'm saying, but it's like, he did all the right things. And don't get me wrong, somebody can do all the right things, and if you don't like them, you just don't, and you can't even get the ick from some of the nice things that they're doing. But I feel like, generally speaking, somebody who's good looking, and it might seem obvious, like, yeah, of course, but yeah, he was good looking, he took her out to dinner, he was always telling her like, oh my god, like, I'm so blessed to be in your presence type of thing. He would buy her gifts, and he, yeah, just not smothered, but like he just didn't give her a chance to say no. Like, and that was one thing that the book was saying, is like, how could she even say no? Because it's like, yeah, and even in the life that they continue to have, that's why I was like, their relationship was given mid. There was nothing to not like. And it might seem a bit redundant to say, yeah, of course that's why she likes him, but I think a lot of the reasons why it appeared that she liked him were external to her. It was the things, it was who he, it was kind of who he was, and the things that he was doing for her, the life that the life that he represented for her, and the life that he was going to give her, rather than the fact that she just simply liked him. And I think, yeah, I think that was probably a little bit reflective in the relationship that they had later on. And he wasn't really happy when she was when she went to become a professor, or not professor, maybe like a lecturer. He wasn't really happy about that. So I don't know, I don't really know. I feel like they're one of those couples that, and the problem with this thing is that can only sustain a relationship for so long. Again, I'm not a relationship expert, so maybe I'm just chatting shit, but I feel like all those good things and his good lookingness and all of that stuff can only, and him doing the right thing can only sustain a relationship for so long if you as a person internally just don't, maybe not don't, but haven't really asked yourself the question, do I actually really like this person for myself? So yeah, I feel like the book ended really abruptly because their mom died. So the twin girls, their mom died, and Stella didn't come back for the funeral even though she knew them that their mom died, which I thought was actually wicked. Not gonna lie, she sounds like, you know, somebody who her heart is like caged, just like gone basically. Because how can your mom die and you not go to the funeral and there's nothing wrong with you? You're not incapacitated, you've got money, you got everything. Anyway, so yeah, she was wicked. That's one thing about Stella. Stella is, her heart is like boom, like very strong. So yeah, she's very strong-willed, and I think she's probably, it's interesting, like when they were growing up, it seemed like Desiree, the black side of the twin, or the black twin, I'm gonna call them the black twin and the white twin, even though they're both like beige people. Yeah, it seemed like the black twin when they were growing up was going to be like more strong-willed. But as it turns out later on is from the book, the fact that Stella can go as bad and as high as she went to do all the things that she did, she's definitely like the more strong-willed one in the book. And the fact that she can do that, like her daughter caught her like, I know you have a family, I know you've got this, why are you still lying? There was a picture of this woman and her twin sister on their father's funeral, and this woman was like, nah, it's not me, it's not me, it's not. She was like, no, it's not. Who is that person? I have no idea who she is. Not me. Nope, not at all, not me. And you're just like, wow. I rate her. Like, yes, it's evil and it's not for the right things, but she had tenacity to her lies. It was really, really up there. But yeah, that same tenacity I think shows in the way that she fought for herself to you know, get her education, like even after her daughter was already in uni. Whereas Stella, the black twin, Desiree, on the other hand, was always wondering, oh, maybe I should go to uni, maybe I should, because they're kids around about the same age, right? So on the other hand, you have Stella, who's, again, maybe that's a privilege in her, right? Because she was white passing, and so she lived in this world where she could accomplish anything. So it's like, yeah, I'm gonna go and get that degree, I'm gonna get that job because I'm white and they're gonna give me the job. So maybe there's that aspect of that. But I know her sister, on the other hand, was always wondering, maybe I'm gonna travel, maybe the world's gonna be blue, maybe the sky is gonna be yellow, and she never actually did anything. So when you compare both of their lives, it was, yeah, quite interesting. And then, but in the same way then, her daughter, the black person's daughter who was black, like actually really dark skinned now, ended up becoming a doctor. Whereas this white woman who has left all this life and has all these things now and is so rich, her daughter is a mid actress that ends up working in some shop somewhere because she hated her life so much that she was constantly trying to avoid her mom's pressure. So yeah, it's just very interesting. I guess nothing in life is really guaranteed. So yeah, I thought the book was quite interesting. If you have I wanted to say watched it, but no, you don't watch a book, you read a book. If you've read the book, leave me a comment please. Let me know what you thought about the book. Did you find it interesting? Were you mad at Stella for, you know, white passing and, you know, pretending that she doesn't have a whole family and mom and sister and twin sister and all that stuff? Or did you kind of think like me, like, yeah, I get it. Sometimes it's life is hard, you know. I felt like it was a trauma response, you know. She faced some traumatic things, and sometimes when people are hurt, they make decisions that you can't really process in a normal way when you think of it outside of them. So it's fair enough. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. I apologize again for the lighting, it's been mad. That's not something sticking out my body, that is my computer system at the back. It looks like I have a whole something like just beep. Anyway, yeah, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you somewhere in the space sometime soon. Au revoir, bye. Share it too. I always used to feel like really shy to tell people to like share stuff. share it to your friends, man. Help me out. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. Maybe I can do that before my birthday. If I can get to 1,000 subscribers, this feels very vulnerable for me to even say and admit this, but somewhere in my heart I really want to get to 1K subscribers by my birthday, which is in July. So it might not happen, it might do, but by you liking and sharing this video, it might make me or help me get to my goal. All right, thank you so much. Have a good day. Bye.